Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're looking at the news about the Platinum Blue Eyes White Dragon and the reasons behind why I chose not to get this product. Now, for me, it wasn't so much of an issue as it was in America. I know they had lots of issues in North America where within a few seconds they had massive buyouts. It was already bought up. They were relisted on sites such as eBay for like £4,000, £5,000 on average, if not more. I think someone was cheeky enough to put it up for something like 10,000, which is just absolutely insane. Very few people are going to have that type of money around them, and they're just not going to buy it at that. But that's how they chose to take it in America. They're a little bit less hostile than that in Europe, more specifically in my case being in the UK. I think it was listed for about a couple of hours. I did have the chance to purchase one, and I was debating between yes or no here or there. But I, at the end of the day, just couldn't justify the cost. I thought it was just too expensive. Yes, it's a limited run of a certain card. Yes, it's an iconic card, and it's of a certain value, but I thought there's potential, which is it could be reprinted, or you can get an alternative version or a more popular version at another point. And just because it says it's, coming out at this point, it's an initial push. It says, as you can say, limited to 1,000 initial copies. This is where I have the issue. Had this been a pure outright statement saying this is all we're running of this product, I might have considered it a lot more. In case you aren't aware as well, that basically means potentially we get more versions of this, in which case that floods the market, and it's a lot to do with supply and demand. If you've got high supply and low demand, then actually the prices might actually start going down, and all these people might actually lose the investment, however much they've actually put into it, especially if they've bought on the secondary market versus the initial market. So I would feel a lot more sorry for those in America and anyone who's not in Europe. I couldn't justify the cost based on personal circumstances I'm not willing to go into, but I also just think the value isn't there. There's always chances of things happening. And here's another point which I've not heard of from any of the other YouTubers. Value for these cards, much like artwork, will value higher as fewer pristine copies remain. So it's a bit like the whole Pokemon phenomenon. So for them, it was very much the base set Charizard, for example. Those were of money and of value because there were very few copies that were kept in that protection and that level of condition. Very few people at that point would have been in a position where they were using protectors, various forms to keep them in a safe place, and therefore there was just devalued all over the place. Whereas I think this is less the case that's going to happen to this. People are going to be more aware of the buyer's market and will store this away a lot safer. The value won't actually go to you. The value will probably go to either your children or your grandchildren, depending on how many copies are left remaining and how long Yu-Gi-Oh actually lasts. It's lasted over 20 years. Who is to say it's going to last another century or so? It may do, it may not do. But again, it's not the value that you will be getting. It's generations beyond you. So you're not going to see this money. And my last point to that is greed is not good. And I say this for someone who has no religious beliefs. I do come from a background where my dad is actually Buddhist, and he does believe in lots of this type of stuff. But the one thing I do remember, and the one thing I do believe, is karma. So karma is the whole principle that what you do to others will happen to you. I don't necessarily agree with that form of karma. I think actually whatever you do to someone else, you get paid back double. So if you do something incredibly negative and nasty to someone, you are going to have something in your life that's going to actually destroy you. And that can come in various forms, greed being one of them. Money comes and goes. Money is fleeting. Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's gone. And that's just the way of the world. You can be the greediest person with the most money and still not be a happy person. And I'd rather just be satisfied, content with what I have, than to perhaps have more than I need and then have to worry about it in case it gets stolen. Because this has happened. I have seen cases. There was a recent story in Kent, it was about a month ago, where someone had their whole I think it was Dragon Ball Z, all of those cards, all the valuable cards stolen from them, and they've yet to actually recover them. So if people see this in any shape or form, they will look to getting it, which basically means they'll probably come after you and you become a target. Not a good idea to do. I would also like to address something that actually Asian Eyes has said, and I do actually agree with this. I am a fan of his, and I do like his content. He has mentioned that unlike many of the other cards that were prize cards, such as Crush Card Virus and Minerva, Lightsworn, Maiden, and cards like that, which had very limited printing and were initially prize cards, their value came from the point of view that you can actually use those in tournaments. This is just a standard Blue Eyes White Dragon, but it's got a shiny new look to it. Everyone probably can access a Blue Eyes White Dragon very easily. There aren't thousands or hundreds of thousands of copies flying around for, pennies, really. And that's the case that these aren't that valuable. They can be used for competitive play, well, depending on when Blue Eyes actually becomes competitive again. But for the most part, it's fine. It's not going to affect anyone who wants to play the game. And I take and understand that viewpoint. I'm just simply of the point and the value that it's just not worthwhile. No point in stressing yourself out. Best thing you can do around the coronavirus situation is to make sure your finances are in order, to make sure you're secure, and the same goes for your family. If you believe anything different, please put those comments down below. I'm happy to engage and have a discussion about it. Obviously, don't try and shout me down, because I'll just remove your comment. I'm happy to have an open discussion about it. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content.